guys, welcome to this video 10.2 Measuring Angles and Arcs Part 2. Okay, so in this video we're going to be talking about arc length. In the last video we talked about arc measure. It sounds like those two are pretty similar, arc length, arc measure. Oftentimes in math we even use the words length and measurement kind of interchangeably almost. However, in this chapter, in this section, arc length and arc measure are two completely different things. In the previous video you guys watched on arc measurement, I mentioned that the measure of an arc is the exact same as the measure of the central angle for the arc. For example, in this circle that I have here, imagine that this circle is 45 degrees. What would the measure of arc AB be if the central angle was 45 degrees? The arc measure would be 45 degrees. That's what we talked about in the last video. But 45 is not really the length of the arc. If I were to take a piece of string and if I connected the string from the A to the B, the string would not be 45 degrees long. How long would the string be? That's what we're going to be talking about today. This video is focused on arc length, the actual length of the arc, how long it is. So it's not going to be 45 degrees, it's going to be something else. Is there a way to tell how long it would be if you knew that it was on the 45-degree arc? Is there a way to tell how long that string would be? What the length of the arc would be? There is, but you need one more piece of information first. First, you have to know how big the entire circle is, because right now you don't know if the circle is a very large circle or a very small circle. So first you have to know how big the circle is, then you can figure out how big that piece of the circle is. So you have to know the circumference of the circle. Once you know the circumference of the circle, that tells you the size of the circle. It tells you how big or how small the circle is. So let's say, for example, the circumference of this circle is 2. I'm just going to make that up. So we're going to say if the circumference is equal to 2, I don't know, 2 meters, something like that. Let's say the circumference is 2. Circumference means the entire part of the circle, the entire around all the way from here all the way to here again, that's the circumference. So the whole thing, the whole circumference of the circle is 2. So our goal is we want to figure out what the length of arc AB is. We know it's going to be less than 2. In fact, if I'm going to make a guess based off of this picture, I'm going to say it's going to be less than 2. It's even going to be less than 1 because 1 would be half of it. 1 would be like a semicircle. So 1 would be like from here to here because the whole thing is 2. So half, that would be like from here to here. So I'm going to guess that it's about 1/4. I'm going to guess that the length of this arc AB is 1/4. And in this case, it actually is going to be exactly 1/4. My question for you is, can you figure out some sort of formula to find the length of an arc if you are given the angle measure of the central angle for the arc and if you are given the circumference? If you are given those two pieces of information, can you figure out a formula that will produce the length of the arc? This video today, guys, is going to be really short. After we figure out what the formula is, we are going to do 4 problems where we just use the formula. We just take numbers, we put it in the formula, we get the answer. Take numbers, put it in the formula, get the answer. So figuring out what the formula is, that's the entire lesson for today. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to pause the video and I want you to really try for like a solid 5 or 10 minutes because this is the only thing you have to do in the video. So try for like 5 or 10 minutes to find the formula. Now let me give you a hint if you're not sure where to start. We already did one example problem together. My hint is to draw for yourself another 1 or 2 or 3 example problems using angle measures that you are familiar with and comfortable with. For example, draw a circle, mark out 90 degrees. Figure out, if I know what the circumference of the circle is, how can I figure out what the arc length would be for that 90-degree angle? Try it for a 180-degree angle for a semicircle. Try it with a couple different examples, and then see if you can notice a pattern happening. That pattern is going to turn into the formula. So go ahead, pause the video, give it a solid 5 to 10 minutes where you're trying to find the formula, and then once you unpause the video, I'm going to tell you what the formula is. All right, and here's the formula. If you were able to find it, I'm really impressed. Congratulations, that is awesome. Here's what it is. The arc length is going to be equal to whatever the angle measure is divided by 360 degrees times the circumference of a circle. And the circumference, you can either say 2 pi r like they have here in the equation, or you can say pi times the diameter. Go ahead and write down this equation and this picture here in your notes. This is how to find the arc length in a circle. Now we're going to do a couple practice problems using this formula. All right, and here's the first one. We're going to do this together. We're trying to find the length of arc ZY. In order to do that, the arc length is going to be equal to the angle measure divided by 360 times the circumference of the circle, which is 2 pi r or pi times the diameter. So the arc length is going to equal 0.2 times 2 pi times 4. So that's going to be about 5.2. I'll just round it to the nearest tenth. So the arc length here is going to be 5.2 inches. That is the length of arc ZY. If you were to take a string and measure it, it would be 5.2 inches long. That's actually the only problem we're going to do together. Now I have 3 for you guys to try on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, try these 3 problems, try to find the measure of arc AB in these 3 different pictures here, and then we'll go over the answer. All right, here we go. 5A, the length of arc AB is equal to 45 divided by 360 times the circumference. The circumference is 2 times pi times 3. So in my calculator, I'm going to type in 45 divided by 360 times 2 times pi times 3. And I get 2.4, we'll round it, 2.4 centimeters. That's for the first one. Here's the second one. All right, for this one here, the arc length is going to be 80 degrees divided by 360 times the circumference. Now 14 meters, that's the diameter in this picture, so it's going to be pi times 14. So I'm going to type that whole thing into my calculator, and I get 9.8 if we round it, 9.8 meters. And now for the last one here, the length of this arc is going to be 120 divided by 360 times 2 times pi times 8, and that's going to equal 16.8 feet. All right, that is it for today. Go ahead and submit those notes on Canvas, and then you are done for today.